view. Everything in this house is bare minimum, and it's like a Swiss watch. If you move a wall, it doesn't work. And that is why, in the end, we had to go for the request for a slight increase in the lot occupancy. Another thing to consider is that these lots are unusually small. The minimum square footage for an R4 zone lot is 1,800 square feet. This lot is 857 square feet. So complying with 60% lot occupancy on the 1,800 square foot lot is one thing. Complying with 60% lot occupancy on a lot that's half the size is much more difficult to do. And that's really what zoning typically looks at from a legal standpoint when reviewing these cases. What is it that makes this property exceptional and that gives these people the right to be granted relief? And that is really it, is that these lots, there are very few of them, they are unusually small. These houses are unusually small. And in my client's case, like I said, what she's trying to do is a very modest sized house. And we are also largely restoring and rebuilding the existing townhouse. So we are contributing to the neighborhood in that sense. So there are many different ways to look at this. Thank you.
Okay, so we have one question from the audience.
Well, I mean, it's more directed to the commissioners. I think you need to ignore a lot of the facts. It sounds stupid, but the answer here should be the same regardless of her personal circumstances. The fact that they're a nice couple with kids and stuff, the fact that she used to live there, those are fortuities. The answer here should be the same whether it's a nice couple with 2 kids, or it's a gay couple that wants to put in a home gym, or it's a developer that wants to have a bigger house to sell. The answer should be, if you're standing outside the house, is the effect on the neighborhood acceptable? The personal circumstances are beside the point. Otherwise, you're going to have different people getting different answers depending on whether they put on a more persuasive case, but depending on whether they give a better talk, and that's not how it should be.
It's my understanding from the drawings that you will not even see from the front of the house this.
I have no opinion on the project. I'm just telling you the way we should be thinking about this.
I understand what you're saying. Okay. Rochelle?
Okay, so one more quick comment with Martin.
Right. The thing is that, let me just, first of all, you can see it if you stand across the street. Yes, when you're walking in front of those houses that have those setbacks, no, if you're standing on the same side where the house is, you can't see it. But if you cross the street, you can see it. But
No.
Not on this one.
This one.
Not on that one?
No.
Okay, that's what they say.
That's what the drawings show.
The drawings show it.
Okay. I think they probably said that on M Street too, when they put that setback, and you can see
There will
it
be a
from the
flag
other
test,
side.
sorry, don't mean to interject, but there will be a flag test conducted to verify the heights to make sure that it will not be visible from the street.
Yeah,
That's
that
one
was
of the requirements.
condition of our approval.
Okay, Ms. Martin.
Well, let me just go back to my, I think that we need to maintain affordable housing on Ridge Street. When we start building them out, that increases the value of the house and puts the value outside of the price of many people. In addition to which, when we start building that build out, it also means that taxes go up, which means that the people who actually live on the street who cannot afford to build out will not be able to afford the increase in taxes that is brought on by the increase in
Okay.
changes.
And on that note, we're going to make the motion, okay? All right, this is in my single-member district. I motion that ANC 6E not support the variance for an increase in lot occupancy for 440 Ridge Street. So this is for no support. Okay, and any second? Do I have a second? Okay.
The committee met Thursday night, the zoning committee, and we suggested very strongly that you supply us with letters of support and an agreement in writing that the construction would not start until 8 o'clock. I personally have not received.
I sent it to you.
I saw one letter.
You saw one letter?
Another one I just got.
Okay. So what do we do?
So my motion failed.
So I'm going to make a motion, but first I want to address a couple of concerns that were raised by members of the committee. First, Mr. Kendrick, thank you for having supported the creation of the Historic District back in 1998. You'll recall that I was involved in that effort as well. And this commission has, in the past, granted or its support to a request for zoning relief to allow the very modest type of increases in lot occupancy that are represented by this particular case, with the objection that you raised, with the objective, that you raised of making these homes livable for people in the 21st century. And I think the last one that we did that's relevant here was for a senior citizen owned residence on the 1500 block of 8th Street that needed a very modest increase in lot occupancy to be able to put a small one-person elevator on the back of her house so she could get up and down because she had some health issues. This is 18 inches that we're adding to the back of this building in order to be able to have a neighborhood resident come back and use her house as a residence. I mean, this is an extremely modest amount of relief that's being requested. And to the point that, again, Mr. Kendrick made, that historic preservation isn't intended to cast neighborhoods in stone. It's supposed to be able to allow them to continue to be livable. To Ms. Martin, and I also want to acknowledge that Ms. Martin is a former chair of our predecessor ANC 2C.
Years.
A long time ago, but thank you for your service in that capacity as well. I would say that, yes, that if every single person on that block, worked with an architect, worked with the Historic Preservation Review Board, came up with a compromise that only required this type of modest relief, then I would support it. I would support every single historic house on that row getting 18 inches in order to be able to ensure that a proper renovation would allow the continued use of those houses for their intended purpose.
Well, I hear we're open up public, I know it. So that's all
And
right.
I'm a preservationist. I was a preservationist before I was an ANC commissioner, and I would support that.
Alex,
There's
is
Ms.
there
Carr.
only, so the extension on the back is only 18 inches wide? Is that?
It's 20 inches, it's 1 foot 8, so
Okay,
just
20
to-
inches.
just for the record,
Sorry.
yeah.
So the house is what, about 40, is it 40 feet deep?
The length of the house is 42 feet with the addition, yeah.
Okay, so, and when you go up, I'm just looking at the picture here, so I'm confused, because that's what I said, to add on to the house in the back is one thing, but to go up. So when you add on to the house up on the second floor, it's 20 inches?
It's only coming further into the rear yard, 20 inches than the rear of the current house.
We're looking at this photo.
Yeah,
So this is coming up.
that's the stair bulkhead, that's the front view. I think maybe on the next page, or if you scroll down, there might be a view of the rear.
Right, but where does it, how deep does it come up the front, might be
We're
misleading,
adding
but
a
I'm looking-
total of 5 foot 11 inches to the height of the townhouse with this so-called third floor addition. It's really more like a half story.
And it's how deep?
I'm sorry?
You're adding a floor, and how deep is the floor?
How
12
deep is
feet?
the floor?
How far back does that
Yeah,
third floor go?
it's 13 foot 8 overall.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And then we scaled it back.
No, it's huge, but it's not.
No, we're talking about the
That's outside-
increase in
that's the outside
the
wall
depth of the
dimensions.
building.
Yeah.
Oh, so it is going to the back?
Yes.
And so toward the front is?
Remains the same.
The facade is
This is more
untouched.
the back issue, like the increase of the lot towards the back.
Is adding a foot and a half. Is adding a foot and a half.
Right, and that's what's
And when you
before us.
come up.
And then go up, and then it goes up.
And that is not before us.
Right.
They're
That was
only
a historic
asking us
preservation
to allow
case.
the foot and a half.
On the
To go
top.
back.
I got you.
Right.
Yeah, because the top they would be allowed to do that.
Correct.
Without the.
Coming to the community.
coming to
Without
the
zoning
lot.
relief.
That's correct.
Okay.
So I'm going to move that ANC 6E support the BZA case seeking zoning relief to allow the addition at 440 Ridge Street Northwest, and that we communicate that to the Board of Zoning Adjustment.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kevin. All in favor?
Nay.
Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
So we have I'm sorry, Alfreda, did you vote? Okay, 2, 4, 5, 6 in favor, 1 opposed. The motion, of course, passes. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Zoning, another zoning case, 801 to 811 N Street. Hey,
No 7th Street?
No, it was a, you got approved that previous construction.
while they're getting organized, Mr. Tip, will you make sure you see me before you leave? I need some information from you so you can be part of that zoning committee, as you asked. Okay.
Is there a way to turn the lights off on that?
Yep, I believe there is. Whoa.
This is the same parking lot.
First, we're going to have a technical glitch. All right, my name's Michael Vallon, and I'm working with the owner of the property at 801 N Street. The property, unfortunately, my plans are not going to show up on the projector tonight. The corner, it's at the corner of 8th and N, backside of the convention center, and it's on the southeast corner of 8th and N. It's currently a parking lot.
The northwest one.
Sorry, northwest. The area is on C2A. The block of 8th Street that it is adjoining to is a collection of mid-19th century, very, very small homes. There's 3 very small, sort of at the north end of the block, and then 2 additional small residences, and then a cluster of taller, later houses. I had the ability to work at 1316 8th, which is being reviewed by DCRA at the moment. It's going to have a 3rd floor addition added to it. And I did some amateur archaeology and discovered that probably all of the houses on that street at one time were very, very small, set very, very far back on the street. But over the years, the owners subsequently added, increasing the front, increasing the heights of the building. So we have a variety of heights. C2A allows 50-foot height limits. It allows commercial use if you want. For all residential, it allows an FAR, a floor area ratio of 2.5. If you provide affordable housing within the building, it allows 3.0. So what we're proposing is a 5-story L-shaped building that fronts 8th Street and N Street, with the entrance being on N. This is showing N Street entrance. It's a all residential building. It'll be made up of 24 units, 23 of which are 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom. 1 is a 1-bedroom, 1.5 bath. There'll be 2 lower levels of parking below ground, providing 18 parking spaces. There's a courtyard in the back for community use, for residential use, and there are 4 private rooftop decks on the top of the building. The building size is about 21,000 square feet total. Yeah. The building has a cellar level. It's called a cellar because its ceiling is less than 4 feet above ground, and you can see that at the base of the building, kind of behind the little brick fences, and then 1st through 5 is above. The 8th Street, this is the 8th Street elevation. The building to the right, the far right of the photograph, or the image, the rendering, is the building that the same developer built just this last year. I designed the building about 8 years ago for him. And at the time that was under consideration, and working with Steve Colcott at HBRB, or at the planning office, the historic preservation officer at the time, he suggested to me that at some point this corner lot was going to be a big building no matter what, and so to kind of plan for the building that would be immediately next to it to be sympathetic to that. So at the time, we designed a fairly tall building for that street and 1 story higher than all the rest on the block, and we were given approval, and pretty much it was built the way it was designed. And I think that this sort of continues the pattern that building set up, with the sort of references to bayfront tall row houses. But when it turns the street, and faces N, it's going to have a little bit more of a somewhat more open feel. It's looking out to the south over the convention center from the upper 3 floors, and should have some very nice views. I'm turning the corner with a balcony, an express balcony, and a negative sort of corner window that's looking into the living spaces of the corner units that are all set up on a diagonal. If I could show you the plan, I wish I could. This is a view. Whoops, gosh darn. A view of the building, looking at it from the corner. Shows how it turns the corner with the balcony, and shows the massing and some of the details of the street looking towards the north, 8th Street looking towards the north. So you can see that there's a variety of heights and some very small buildings right next to the 1306, and then taller buildings next to it. It's sort of an artist's interpretation of what it might look like at night. And then there's a little small view of what the courtyard will look like, that potentially can look like. So there were some concerns at the zoning committee meeting last week about ADA accessibility, and I've redesigned it so that it has the ability, it has ADA ramps that can go down to the courtyard level, entrances from the courtyard level, ADA compliant ramps go up to the 1st floor, and so that makes 2 floors completely independent of elevators and stairs, and then the rest of the building would be accessible by elevators. We were asked about providing an additional elevator. We're just going to keep to 1 elevator because we lose valuable square footage in the building if we provide 2. And we think for building this size, from looking at other buildings, that it's a toss whether it's worth the extra expense or not. The only other thing I can really tell you is trash is all contained. There's a chute that feeds down from the top to the bottom of the building. It's all collected out from the back. There's bicycle parking. There's an edge relief at the alley, the tiny alley between the other building on the corner of 9th and N and this location, and so we're leaving some space so trucks can get in and out without having to worry about running into the side of the building. And we really don't have any zoning issues per se. We're at 50 height at the top of the cornice, 50 feet at the top of the cornice. We sort of step down on the 8th Street side so that we match up to the building better that's to the north of us. And then the rest that we've met all the requirements of done. We're not going to start construction before 8.
Thank you, sir. I tell you, this is my new thing.
And I do have the letter for that.
You have a letter? Okay,
letters of support,
I'm liking you already.
So, Michael, could you clarify on the ADA access, because what we wanted to prevent was someone that needed ADA access having to go to the alley side of the building in order to get in. So have you now accommodated access from either the?
Yeah, on the front adjacent, sort of integrated into the landscape design at the front of the building. There's the ramp
Got it.
alongside the staircase, and it's all made a part of the main entrance, not
Perfect.
a secondary. But I kept the side entrance so the courtyard's accessible from multiple directions.
Got it.
Wouldn't that sub-level, that first sub-level, wouldn't it be susceptible to a lot of flooding?
Not in modern construction. I mean, as long as it's, the deck has to, the courtyard deck has to be built properly so that water drains, and that technology exists. It's not.
What type of floors would be in that first sub-units? What type of floors?
Concrete. It's all concrete frame.
Any other questions from commissioners?
Where did you end up with materials? You had stucco on some bays. Did you make any changes about that?
Primarily brick, glass, and some stucco accenting, and that's it.
And that
some
stucco is
stone.
not going to be orange, right?
No.
You agreed on that? Okay.
There will be no orange stucco, no purple metal panels, no
Gotcha.
lime green.
I'm a miserable
No,
person
no,
when
no,
it comes to that. There are some buildings that have gone up that have had some very strange colored outside, and I just want to make sure that
There's a lot.
we're
this-
keeping in character
Yeah, this
with,
building needs to relate to a lot of different things.
yeah.
So it needs to be respectful.
But this is in Frank's single-member district, and maybe he likes purple and orange.
That could be, and he might have a microphone to
I
tell
like
us
the
about
red
it.
brick that you have.
And he might want to make a motion that we,
This is my single-member district. I move the ANC 6E support the concept design for 801 N Street. Condominiums are being built, and I ask for a second.
I would second it with a friendly amendment that it be communicated to the Historic Preservation People.
Can I get a second?
I second it if you accept it.
I accept that.
okay.
Any other discussion from other commissioners? Is there any other discussion from anyone else? Mr. Tipp?
Just for zoning?
Yeah.
But no, this is Historic Preservation.
Historic preservation, sorry.
It's a concept.
They don't need zoning.
Once we say A-OK, then they're done coming to us. They get started.
I would just like to ask, if I could, through you to the architect. Across the street is the Immaculate Conception Church.
Yes.
And does your design in any way reference anything borrowed from that, or, because your building doesn't seem like it references anything in the area. There's some things over there that are still there.
No, it doesn't.
Any reason why you didn't, or?
Well, it's a church, for one thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
but,
that,
I mean, the math.
I usually
your
don't
height-
reference churches.
The height of your building is actually gonna be the same as the church.
No, the church is taller,
Church is tall.
much taller, yeah.
Okay, but certain design elements, like the red brick or,
The red brick is definitely what we've decided to do. If we do any accent brick and other colors, that hasn't been decided. So let me be clear. The bay windows that are full height, or 4 floors high, facing the church, are red brick. And there are 2 panels of brick in that facade, just to make reference to variation in row houses. Whether those panels are red or a complementary color, we haven't determined yet. But that's where the referencing to the church really stops, because I mean, I've done many houses in Shaw and in Logan Circle, and I've never been asked to reference another.
well, I was just thinking about, when you talk about design elements, usually you don't try to reinvent the whole wheel. You can just kind of look at certain things and kind of extrapolate. Good example would be when the Kennedy Playground.
Kind of Gothic arch windows.
Yeah, but bear with me. When the Kennedy Playground was built, they kind of looked across the street at the O Street Market. And as far as the scale goes, because I was thinking more about the scale of your building.
Sure.
Trying to match it with the church. So I guess I was trying to put a bigger building
The
there for you.
church, yeah, exactly. And there's an even bigger building on the next corner up.
Yeah.
And several more.
And we don't know exactly what's going to go across the street yet.
That's true.
Yeah.
But I guess the design elements is what I would be concerned about. To HPRB, I don't know how they're going to look at it, but I would like to see something that we start to build buildings that you can expect to see in 50 years. and not just you'll rip it off and try to start all over again. Just that I'd like to see it look more like it was built for an historic district.
That only assures me that you have to be on the zoning committee and be at the next committee meeting. So you are.
Chip's great.
You're just going to have to do it, Mr. Tip, okay? Okay, so we have a motion to support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Opposed?
You're opposed to the building?
Yes.
Okay. This motion passes 6-1. Thank you, kind sirs, for making the changes. And you know I'm going to be over there at 7:45. Make sure you're not doing anything.
When will you begin?
Later this year.
In about 2 months. In about 2 months.
2 months.
So if you live in that neighborhood, you'll be saying, oh, thank God she made them start at 8. Okay. Next on the agenda, we have a presentation from the Central Union Mission, which is located in our ANC, and we are going to get some information. Sir, we're glad to see you.
Thank you. I'm Dave Treadwell. I'm the director of the mission. And ironically, I guess for us, this is our 6th ANC to work with in the last 4 years. We have moved around, been pushed around, pulled around, patted on the back, and had all sorts of experiences with ANCs. We are glad to finally have a home, and we're glad to be here to tell you a little bit about what we do. And I want to try and aim this as much as I can at neighborhood concerns that we've heard from others who didn't want us in their backyard. The goal of the mission in restoring the Gale School, which we like to say we took an eyesore and made it into a sight for sore eyes. And if you are familiar with Gale School, there at 65 Mass, it was held up by steel pipes with no roof. We would invite all of you to come see it today. It's open 24 hours a day. We can take people through. If you want to come see it, you are welcome to come give us a visit. But in doing this, we have been serving men since 1884. We've been in many locations in the city, but we really wanted to return downtown. That was a big goal, and even though we were trying other places, we were very thankful when the city offered us the opportunity to come back downtown. We believe that's where homeless people, the first line of help needs to be. And so the way we've got it set up now, we're handling 170 men a night. But we also, in this building, designed it to take the men in the daytime. We're the only shelter in the city that's open to get the men off the street in the daytime. And we see that as part of our commitment to the neighborhood. That where does a homeless guy go to the bathroom? Well, he can come to Central Union Mission any time of the day. Where does a guy at 2 o'clock in the afternoon who has no money go for food? We have sandwiches available for them. We have the care that they need, the counselors are available, all of that's available to them in the daytime. We didn't have that previously. So that's been something that we feel like we've been able to contribute from this new location. We've also found that the city, you've probably read about the buses that they've used in a hypothermia season. Well, we've opened our day rooms up at night now. So we've been handling up to 190 men a night in this facility. We are so grateful to be able to do that. But the other thing is, as we come in, of course, we're at the southern part of the ANC. We're right down there about the government printing office. And we want to know how we can serve. Now, when we offered this facility to the city, we said we have meeting rooms. They are available to the community, and we have used them on several occasions for the community. Come and see. Come and visit. Our assembly hall can seat close to 200 people, and it's available for the community. People support Central Union Mission to look after poor people, but it really is there for the community. And so you know the community far better than we do. We recognize we are new to this community, though for 70 years we were 1 block off of Pennsylvania Avenue, so we've been downtown for a long time. I had an interesting comment from one of my young ladies who works the front desk for us today. She said, Mr. Treadwell, do you realize that half of the men here are over 60 years old now? That tells you a good bit about the homeless population. Quite a few of these people are seniors. They don't need to be out on the street in the daytime. So we're very grateful to be able to house them during the day. And again, the best thing you can do is come see. See us feeding. We've got 6 other locations in the city and 1 in Montgomery County. So we're scattered around and feeding and all that. Right next to this ANC is our facility for the Hispanic community, which is at Mount Gilead Baptist on 13th Street. We also have a facility for transitional housing at 6th and I, which is just outside of your boundaries. And we have about 15 men in there. Our other locations are in Southeast and well up in Northeast. But we're trying to serve the whole community. But the core program is for the men at Gale School. And like I say, we're here to serve you. So thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I was the one that invited the mission here, so thank you for coming. I'm very familiar with it. I've toured it. Do you all still do what you call like your executive dinners, or how did you?
We do executive
you can
dinners.
Speak to that, 'cause that's how I went
Yes,
last year.
we have executive dinners on the first Thursday and the third Friday of each month. We have one's at lunch and one's at dinner. So you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. Fridays is at lunch, and the Thursday one is at dinner, so that we can help the community both ways. But we'd love to have you come to an executive dinner. We'll give you a tour, we'll give you a sales pitch, and we'll show the mission to you. But thank you folks so much.
Thank you for coming, we appreciate it.
Okay, next on the agenda. Kevin, can we get a treasurer's report?
Sure.
Are you prepared? Okay.
Currently, ANC 6E has. Okay. Currently, ANC 6E has $59,900.78 in our checking account. So, you want me to go through expenses?
Whatever you do.
Okay, that's the next item on the agenda.
Go ahead.
Okay. So I will